2026. Okay, welcome to the regular council meeting. The date is Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. The time is 7 p.m. Council completed its closed portion of the meeting. We'd like to report out that we have discussed the contract award. We've agreed on a path forward, which will have further information coming to the community in the next month or 6 weeks. So at this time, we'll move right into the meeting. Item number 4, adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Broughton. Any amendments, changes?
Just one suggestion, what we just spoke about. If we move the delegation ahead of the public participation, then if anyone's got questions, they might come out from Jeremy's delegation. From MLA's delegation.
So just in regards to that, we've got Jeremy with us. He's going to speak in the delegation portion for 10 minutes. Then we'll have another 20 minutes where council will have an opportunity to present him with some questions. We've already given him a copy of those questions. 5 different items. Jeremy may touch on these items during his 10-minute delegation, or council can ask some further questions. After 30 minutes, we'll then make a decision whether we move another 15 minutes, add another 15 minutes onto it, or we move right to public participation, and they will have the opportunity to question, throw some questions at Jeremy at that time. So, okay, with that, the approval of the agenda as amended, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. And we will hand it over to Jeremy Valerie. So thank you, Jeremy, for coming.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and I feel like there's a lot of history to this podium. I'm going to try and do it justice, but I will only hold forth for 10 minutes. But I've got a few things that might preempt some of your questions, though not all of them for sure. And I'll just give you 10 minutes on what's going on in the Sea to Sky and West Bend Sea to Sky, and then legislature. So, and I'll just quickly start off by reminding folks that we have one constituency office in Squamish, and we roam around all the way from Eagle Harbor to Darcy, Nequaqua. So, even if we only have one physical office, there's plenty of time to meet in library, meeting rooms, coffee shops, other opportune spots. And from the constituency office, we have Jatinder Sidhu, who runs the constituency office, along with 2 other staff, Paige and Sophie. And visiting also today are our Green Caucus interns who work with us in Victoria, but are here visiting the Sea to Sky riding. Jaden and Jenna and Caden, sorry, always mental block over now. My colleague Rob Potter will refer to this. Anyways, I've got limited time. So I'll just, that's the consent office. It's not generally open for drop-in, but there's lots of ways to contact us and get meetings. So I'll start with Victoria, and then I'll come back to, oops, maybe I might just have to speak off the top of my head here. Yeah, I'll start with Victoria because I've spent a lot of time there since mid-February. The spring session is long and gets progressively more grumpy as it drags on, and it's now we've got April and May left, and some pretty big topics to be handled. And typically when the government puts down most of its legislative agenda and then tries to hurry it through, so we'll have some abbreviated debate more than likely. But as you probably would have seen in February, we decided to not renew our cooperation agreement with the NDP government as our Green Caucus of 2, myself and Rob Otto. We simply felt there wasn't enough on the table for us, and there hadn't been enough completion of the pieces that we agreed to in the first year of the agreement. Roughly a third were complete. Another third were sort of underway, like regional transit in the Sea to Sky, and another third hadn't even started. We found that to be sort of an unimpressive commitment to the agreement, and there just wasn't the willingness to follow through on some of the pieces we did agree to. I mean, we came out of it with some pretty good reviews, a review of the entire forest sector and industry, review of the Clean BC plan, a pretty useful primary care review, and an electoral reform committee that was made a bunch of recommendations around democratic and electoral reform, and a few other things that were accomplished that were good, like raising the threshold for disability benefits. So it leaves me in a tricky spot with regional bus transit. It's still entirely possible. I mean, the government still has a fair majority, and we said we would work with them on a bill by bill basis. So there may come a time where they need our votes, and that's that, and some goodwill from the Minister of Transportation. So we're still lobbying for that. There's still work going on with the regional district transit committee, and I know it only benefits Lions Bay to a certain degree, but I think it does cut down traffic. It potentially improves your transit from here, well, definitely from here north and also here south. So we'll keep pushing for that. We may need your help on some serious public pressure, but the minister assures me that he's still interested in getting it done and knows that it's needed. So more to stay tuned on that one. I mean, it's definitely a transportation heavy file, because we've sort of opened up a discussion on rail. Patrick Weiler, the MP, and I spotted an opportunity when CN decided they were going to discontinue their use of the lease between Squamish and 100 Mile, and so they banged on a lot of doors and shaking a lot of trees, and we'll see whether the private sector solution looks like there's a good chance that we'll see a private sector solution for both freight and potentially for passengers. So interested in your thoughts on that. You sort of, I guess you've seen what it's like to have a lot of trains through, and then recently not so much, and I'm guessing people have opinions about that. But also starting a discussion to build a new Squamish General Hospital, which will take probably 10 years, but needs to get underway now. And just general constituency advocacy on a bunch of different fronts. We had the Minister of Health in Whistler and Edmonton and Squamish recently, and Minister of Housing came to Squamish. So yeah, lots of issues, lots of constituency issues. I've been doing some work trying to see some transparency on the Quest University saga lately, because it finally came to our former MLA, Ralph Sultan. Finally came to a head where they weren't making any headway. So lots on emergency management, probably mostly highlighted here. As we spoke last time, you've had a tough year or year and a half. Like I said, transportation, road, highway safety is a constant item of discussion here and in Victoria, and I think there's some awareness, and also no money. Guildford province is essentially is a huge fiscal deficit. So anything that costs money is being we're finding is being shelved, which was part of the reason why they couldn't get any traction on our cooperation agreement. So yeah, so far this give you a quick snapshot of legislation. I think we talked a bit about the Declaration Act, but we've tried to be balanced in the Green Caucus. We've supported bills on interprovincial trade, civil forfeiture, safe schools, safe places of worship. We've opposed the budget on the basis that it's not an inspiring vision for the future. It's kind of a stopgap, hidden austerity budget that doesn't, we didn't think really served anybody in terms of investment. Freedom of information, this act was an attempt to water it down, and my colleague Rob Bottle was actually part of the team that put it together in the 90s. So it's interesting how things come around that way, and he's got a wealth of knowledge on that. Is not impressed with the amendments to it. And then, as we all know, the Declaration Act on the Rights of Indigenous People and the Interpretation Act are under heavy fire from all quarters, and David Eby seems to be trying different things. I'll try and put it charitably, throwing different things at the wall to see what people can live with, and so far there's not a lot of resolution. So we've been just as our Green Caucus, we've been the voice saying this is a long trajectory of Indigenous law and progression of law, and the Declaration Act was meant to to help that transformation, and messing with it because of a single court ruling is not responsible governance. So we're gonna keep making that point, and I'm definitely interested in feedback on it. And I think, my 10 minutes, I think that's kind of, let me see what else on that.
Okay, Jeremy, just to build on that, council had put together a 5 or 6 different points. So we really appreciate your time and your thoughts. I'll just read them up for the public so that they're aware. And then maybe you've got a printed copy there. You can possibly go through each of them maybe for a few minutes. First was portable drinking water filtration units. Second was sea to sky corridor proactive slope and vegetation management. Third is all hazards assessment on crown lands. Fourth is active transportation rail corridor cycling route or recreational route. And the fifth is the gravel pit acquisition for housing and temporary parking opportunities. So if you wouldn't mind touching on a few of those items, that would be appreciated, and then we can open it up for council to ask a few questions.
Great. Yeah, thank you for giving these to me in advance by 5 minutes. If we had a day or two, I could have dug up some more wholesome responses for you, but I'll tell you off the top of my head, and we're happy to get back to you. There's a couple of that I can't keep this all in my head, and I've got 3 very capable people in the constituency office, and then 8 caucus staff. So I often rely on them for some of the for a lot of the work and some of the details. But so we can get back to you in terms of drinking water filtration units. I'm aware of Councillor Abbott's EBCM motion, so we more than happy to support that. I think it's an experience that we'll be seeing across the province, and especially in wildfire. So I'm happy to advocate for that, but I don't have any extra detail that to give you right now. But as I said, we can follow up in writing. Proactive slope and vegetation management in the corridor, and this is focused on the highway. I'm gathering. And you're looking for it, so
I can jump in and just sort of elaborate on it. That might make it a little bit smoother. So part of the rationale with this was just having your voice advocate for the village, and by all means, council is more than happy to join you or to support you in any of that. But we just see this as a something that the province needs to weigh in on. We did have a recovery manager who also sort of conveyed the differences between some of the support and sort of groups that are rapid deployed, especially down the US versus Canada. When we had our disaster, we were supported by numerous groups, but I think there is a consensus that this could be something that the province puts together and has a designated group that comes in and supports small communities and mid-sized and large communities as well. But so any areas you can advocate, Kate, we would be there to support you. So we really appreciate your comments.
Yeah, to be frank, I feel like I haven't advocated directly for Lions Bay in the last few months. We spent a lot of time on Botany Creek and trying to get some movement on that, as I know you did, and I think the combined effort really went a long way. I mean, I know it's not solved by any stretch of the imagination, but there was some response, and we had the minister here to have a look at it. And so I'm happy to advocate on those. I think, the drinking water filtration will go through the process, and happy to have that discussion with the minister. So, I mean, I'm assuming it'll pass in September, but I think it's probably just good to let UCM endorse it and then dig in. Management of the corridor in terms of proactive slope and vegetation, you're looking for, okay, problems wide.
I think part of the issue there that we see too is that even with the provincial government, there seems to be 4 or 5 different groups within the provincial government that are working in their own silos, if I could call it that.
Mhm.
And I think if we were able to advocate and get them to come together and communicate a little bit more, it could be more effective. So you being our representative, more than happy for a mayor or council to assist you in that regard.
Could I just jump in on that quickly? So last meeting that we had on March 17th, we passed a resolution that staff set up a meeting with the mayors and chief administration officers in the Sea to Sky corridor, West Vancouver, to collaboratively draft a letter to the province of BC advocating for proactive planning, safety measures, and maintenance of Highway 99. Our conversation after, we felt we should probably invite the Squamish Nation as well, the SLRD chair, Squamish mayor. And we would like to invite yourself into that conversation and then give a little bit more meat behind it for you to take to the ministries.
Mhm. Is it fair to say that the items 2 and 3, proactive slope and vegetation, and then all hazard assessment are somewhat related in that
They are related,
across,
yes.
across the industry and you're having trouble finding out who's truly in charge? I think that's a really valuable discussion to have with all your other local governments, and yeah, I'm happy to advocate for that. Well, yeah, I'd like to be at that discussion, and then take some requests, some concrete requests for action, directly to the minister. And I think, yeah, it's about identifying, and there is somebody in the Premier's office who will identify who's actually going to take the lead. But that's all often a part of it, because there's a bit of dancing around to try to avoid some of these wicked problems, like you pointed out. And then, so anything else on?
Yeah, I just, Mr. Blackwell brought it to my attention, item 2 and 3. Item 3 is primarily focused on the lands above the village, the provincial lands. We know the Tanny Creek started up on provincial lands. And so I think a concerted effort to look at the various waterways and watersheds, especially from a provincial view, and that would be very helpful for us and other communities in the North Shore. So the other items were 4 is active transportation. You mentioned that in your delegation. You talked about the railway. CNN is going to be giving up the railway in July, and that may move over to either private sector, or there was discussions on rail service from the interior down to Squamish, shipping from there, or all the way to West Van, or even a recreational component to that. And I know the mayor of West Van, Mark Sager, has been a big advocate for recreational pathway either alongside or from West Van up to Squamish and Whistler. If you have any comments, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, it's a thorny question, because our main objective right now is make sure that the rail doesn't go into disuse and then is eventually sold for salvage. I mean, that would be, I guess, good news for a rail trail as a transportation recreational route, but I think, it would only be from Squamish north, and we're trying to keep those rail lines in place. So the adjacency is important, which you noted, but I do think that this possibility of having a company come in that wants to do freight from Prince George or Williams Lake or 100 Mile House in Landport, and using the Port of Squamish, combined with a passenger service that, my best guess, which is no crystal ball, but that, would be North Van to Pemberton maybe to start with, and then, eventually maybe phase to go further north from there. But that combination, it seems like is makes decent business sense. And so there's potentially even competition of private sector operators that want to do it, but we won't know until, in July, basically the CN process begins, and there's a whole series of pieces that I won't lay out, because I'm not sure that they're that well understood to post the discontinuance of rail lines as little spur lines in Saskatchewan and that kind of thing. So it's not a well trodden process, but it will take time, and a company might come to its own agreement with CN, or it might get reverted out to kind of a bidding process. But we've just urged the minister not to make any decisions about abandoning the line without consultation with local governments, and it's just an economic development opportunity. It's a traffic safety opportunity, and a whole bunch of other things all rolled into one. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's heavy on transportation. I think, given where we live, with the one highway in and out, it makes sense. We were just at Port Toko looking at the ferry, and I actually don't know the history of that Darrell Bay to Porto ferry, but I'm going to look it up because it's one of those things that may be useful to have one day. Hopefully not, fingers crossed, but at least some proactive planning. But with one highway in and out, there's a lot of challenges. So I have to work on that. Brought up speed over distance in when the highway was closed last week before, for 7 hours, and mentioned Lions Bay because I'm the only person who does 66 kilometers an hour through Lions Bay. People whizzing by me every time, and I know speed in general and noise, motorcycles are a big concern. So transportation minister lives in Coquitlam. Maybe I can get him up here. He claims to come up here regularly, but I need to get him on a proper tour. So
that'd be wonderful. There's been lots of discussion on that recently, and there's an initiative now to put up some listening devices to monitor that and take some recordings. So
okay, yeah, some citizen science would go on there.
I'll just go to number 5, and then we'll come back and we'll councilors last questions. Now, the 5th item was gravel pit acquisition for housing opportunities and temporary parking. And it was brought to my attention that in fact the Lions Bay did have temporary use of the pit some years ago. I was also speaking with the West Van mayor just in the last couple of weeks, and he mentioned that they were provided with temporary use of their gravel pit, which is located in close proximity to Horseshoe Bay. So he thought that should be something that we could look into, and I know Mr. Blackwell has met with the highways and such early in his tenure. Is that something that you could get behind for the community and help us advocate for?
Yes, I think so. Unless is the gravel pit even in use? Has it been? Do they use it for raw material occasionally?
Yeah, they occasionally use it. But
So it's not used as a gravel pit, it hasn't been used for gravel pit for years. It's used often for dumping material, clean up on the highway and so on.
Okay.
I don't think they've ever mined anything there for a long time.
This is, I remember, I forget which councillor has mentioned this to me in the past. I'm happy to, this one's a bit simpler to just try and
sure.
move it along.
It's actually classified as a mined. Gravel is a mined material, but apparently a lot of that area has been declared no longer useful for that. So hopefully that will free it up.
Okay, what I'm going to do now, Jeremy, is just open it up for councillors. They'll raise their hand, and each councillor will go around the table, and after the councillors are finished asking questions, we'll go to the public. Great. So Councillor Brout, and then we'll go to Councillor Abbott.
I'd just like to pick up on items 2 and 3 and the point that I just made around the pit. Like the pit fell under the Ministry of Mines, and but in addition, what we found with the recent disaster and so on is that there are so many different ministries involved that it becomes really untenable to get anything, to get action to happen. And so I think in any way that you can advocate to have a champion or someone, who can work through the various ministry levels. For example, right now with Botany, we're looking at Ministry of Highways, EMCR, Walrus of Forestry, Attorney General's involved. And so you've got at least 5, I think there's 6 or 7 ministries actually involved. And in order for things to happen, there's so many different steps to happen. It's just not efficient, and it's not cost effective for the people of British Columbia to of that happening. So any way that you know, can advocate for someone championing and managing all the different levels, it would really be helpful. And I know, Chabin has been helpful in terms of getting, you know, connections, getting people connected, but it's just a really important issue.
Yeah, through the mayor, I think a project manager that can cross ministries is the ideal on a lot of things, and this one, because I know the frustration, especially with a piece of land that's got multiple jurisdictions, so, that's something, I mean, as I said, there are people who do some cross ministry work. There should be an army of people who cross ministries and can do that, and so that's something I'm really keen to advocate for, because like I said, it's efficiency, and the buck has to stop somewhere, so,
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. Councillor Abbott?
Yeah, Jimmy, I'll touch on a couple of things. So on the, thanks for bringing up the noise monitoring thing. We do this noise monitoring. It's purely for monitoring to get some data for what the noise level is, and Director of Operations in the audience here has got that in hand. And I'm not sure how close we are. I think we've got the stuff on the way, I believe. So that's just, you're right, it is just citizen science. It's not official. We're doing it within the village, and we're just gathering data for our own use. The average speed over distance thing was on the news last night again. And years ago, the UBCM, they passed a pilot project, and then it didn't happen for a long time. And the last UBCM, it came up, and I was discussing it with one of the Cornish councillors, as well as the MLA that was in that area. And I now heard on the news it's actually started. And well, I heard that a little while ago. So this it's a pilot project, and it goes from Kamloops to Avola. If we know that, anyone help me out with the name? Avola, yeah. In some lodges, I've got, the town does exist.
Not Savannah.
Eh?
Savannah?
No, it's Avola. Karen knows what it is. Anyway, somewhere near Kamloops. And it eventually started years later, and I believe they're gathering data now. So if you looked in, that would be a great thing. And I know that, you know, the Squamish councillors would be, you know, John French in particular would be very interested because they're involved in it. The portable potable water treatment thing, by the way, did pass at UBCM.
Oh, right, you passed it last year.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
You've done that already.
Year.
I heard you whispering, we're on that already, we asked for all the data, that you said?
We've
Okay,
asked
great.
data from the pilot, thanks, Peter.
Okay.
And so that's.
Great, yeah.
And sorry, yes,
So we'd be
your motion passed last UBCM, so now.
As UBCM, we have sent a letter to EMCR, I believe. I'm looking across the CO, but not got a response. Yes, okay. So we have sent a letter to the EMCR asking them what's happening. We haven't got a response, but so if you get a chance to.
And
It's a recently sent.
have the typical answers from UBCM resolutions come back to, I can look that up. I feel like it's around this time of year that you finally get answers from your September.
Because ours was not at the UBCM because they timed out. It got approved subsequently, so we got told about it a few months ago, and we've now followed that.
Okay, any other questions by councillors?
I just got one other thing on the gravel pit. It's kind of complicated, and I think, and I may be wrong, but I think Modi also have some lease there. Hydro have a right of way. There's a whole lot of players in there. But yeah, it would take a bit of research to get all the stakeholders understood.
Okay, with that, I'm going to move to the audience. It's a rare opportunity to ask Jeremy a question. So is there anyone in the gallery from the public that would like to ask Jeremy a question? We're going to put him on the hot seat here, so.
Sure.
Is there nobody really who wants to question?
Anyone in the gallery? Okay.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more deeply and succinctly about what's going on with the protections for fee simple property? For instance, every single home in Lions Bay is currently a single family dwelling, and this gamemanship that's happening in Victoria with our properties is, I mean, honestly, what is going on? And what are your plans to stick up for us in this ride, to help us protect what we have and we've earned?
Okay, Jeremy, we told you it was gonna be tough.
Yeah. It's a great question, and there is gamesmanship. It's a very sensitive issue. We've been through, 150 years of colonization, and we've been through truth and reconciliation, and bodies in the Kamloops schoolyard, and I think we're on this a bit of a roller coaster and a bit of a cycle, and we've come now to a decision that's really focused on the history of the Cowichan and what they were promised and then denied, and where some of the land that they used, and a situation where they have not asked for private property. There's been no finding of that private property is being lost by any person. There, like anything legal, there is that potential in a very small way, but it's released a whole bunch of.
Okay, can I just do a follow-up?
Sorry, just let
Thank you.
Jeremy
It
finish.
resulted in a lot of anti-Indigenous sentiment, and this is a trajectory that we've been on for 150 years in terms of solving the fact that there were no treaties and slowly coming to a resolution through negotiation. And occasionally the courts give a little bump and say, you've got to do better. And I don't believe, and I don't think anybody who truly believes that this is going to result in the loss of your property that you've worked hard for, or anybody else's. There may be some Indigenous land, willing buyer, willing seller, over the next decades, but hand on heart, I do not believe that anybody's going to lose their private property that they bought and paid for. That's pretty simple. But there will be a lot of hard work in negotiating what the alternative is. And anyway, that's all.
Tamara, one follow-up question, then we'll move to the
My
next.
follow-up is in regards to grounded in the law. And Canada is founded on good governance and obeyance of our laws and civility. And we send our elected officials to represent us both in Victoria as well as federally, but right now Victoria, to represent us both in Parliament, but also on paper as well. So bringing forward legislation that prioritizes is a priority instance, meaning that your legislation that sits on top of fundamentals that tries to, it's not just an acknowledgement. We can all respectfully acknowledge past histories, but to rewrite the laws requires some sort of conversation with the whole community. I mean, this to me is a referendum question or a bigger conversation, not something that disappears or risks the conversation of disappear. Even the conversation being held in such a manner at the risk of a rug pull over fee simple properties, or how this happens for redevelopment of the pit or of other places. What is your personal stance and plan to navigate us and voice us through this?
I think it's not the way you said. Canada is a law abiding, like rules based country, and some of those, on occasion we have not done the proper rules establishment that we need to do, and now we're in this difficult situation. But there is a resolution of the difficult situation that I can still advocate for property rights without advocating that that we repeal the laws that actually have a framework for us to come to a resolution of this issue that we've been kicking down the road for 150 years. So I think I can do both, advocate for the rights and title of First Nations in the corridor as well as private property owners. I mean, thankfully there is enough land for both to exist, and there's a lot of work to be done. I don't feel like that work is served by people kind of saying that the worst case scenario is going to happen tomorrow. This is a multi-decade process, and it's been going on for many decades, and we need to hit the gas on it so that we're not all living with this uncertainty. It's not a pleasant. I'm a property owner too. It's not a pleasant feeling, that insecurity. But I don't think most markets, insurers, mortgagers are not seeing this as a erosion of property rights that's significant in the long term.
Jeremy, thank you very much for taking those challenging questions, and we appreciate your honesty there. Is there anyone online, Crystal, that would like to ask Jeremy a question?
Yeah.
Okay, we're just gonna go online. We've got about another few minutes.
Mr. Reiki.
Okay, Mr. Reiki?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Just to confirm if you can all hear me, good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Hello, Jeremy. How you doing?
Well, thanks. How are you?
Very good,
Mr.
thanks.
Wright? Mr. Wright?
Yeah.
I have a more simple question for you. In terms of the highway and accommodating all of the future expansions in Squamish, Whistler, and Pemberton, what are the plans for the highway to accommodate for all this additional traffic and volume?
Yeah, great question. And as I've come into this role, I've realized that there are no real concrete plans for the highway. That the folks in Victoria think that they dealt with the highway in 2008 when they spent $700 million on it, which is a big chunk of change. I'll grant you that they haven't really thought about it since, despite all the advocacy done by ourselves and others. So there is the potential to bring iCars to Squamish, which would potentially open the highway sooner. There's potential for a whole bunch of safety improvements, but those aren't. They're not even engineered yet. I've had a long discussion with the Highway Safety Branch, the Minister of Solicitor General, and they have a lot of enforcement ideas that they're going to bring out in a discussion report in the next couple of months. So that will be good to hear. And then there's a whole lot of physical things that cost money, unfortunately, that we can start to plan for when there is money. And I know barriers has been discussed. It's not something that I brought up directly, but safety improvements in a whole bunch of different ways. And so those are really, I would say, I might be stepping slightly outside what Ministry of Transportation staff would say. They've probably started planning for it in some way, but it hasn't reached the point where it's something that we could do. So, the variable speed piece was a tiny piece that was probably 15 years ago, but in theory it was a safety improvement, but otherwise blind painting reflectors just not in any capital budget. So it's a bit of an uphill battle to get them to realize that the volume, the speeds are greater than 2008. And I think I can get back to you in writing in terms of, we can find out if the ministry has even engineering plans for what they would do if they came across, $1 million in provincial budget, because I think we need to be ready for that. And you've got barriers in Lions Bay, really nowhere else. But I guess for the people that lived here before the highway was divided, and was it barrier before 2008? Was there? Anyways, be interested in. There's probably some stories about things that occurred in Lions Bay before there were barriers. Anyway, long answer to say there's nothing concrete, and it's one of the jobs of getting the highway to run safely and reliably.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I'm going to have one follow-up comment on that.
Okay, one follow-up.
Is there a way to potentially remove the big heavy industrial trucks from using the highway and rather put that on the rail or barges or by the shipping lanes?
It's one of the many reasons why we've been pushing the rail issue. But otherwise, I don't believe you can restrict that kind of traffic. Is that the traffic that makes the most noise through Lions Bay, or is that where the accident?
Very big, heavy, high energy vehicles for potential accidents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Crystal, thank you very much for those questions. Mr. Ritchie. Any others?
No.
Jeremy, I just want to say thank you very much on behalf of the community and the council. And we really appreciate you coming here and addressing Lions Bay. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for the questions, and, yeah, we'll send you a letter with a bit more detail on some of these, within the next 2-3 weeks.
That's fabulous.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a recess for a couple minutes right now and we'll come back. Let's give it 4 minutes. Item number 7. Okay, welcome back to the regular council meeting. We'll call the meeting to order 7:46. The next item is 7.1, regular council minutes from March 3rd, 2026. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Adams, second by
Sorry, I
Councillor
wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
Do we not still have the regular public participation?
We meshed that together.
No, I have a,
I think we're the people that wanted to speak.
Okay, all right.
I was asked a question.
That's why I'm here. Like, I
You
got
know what, those
Okay.
2 questions, I don't think we could have gotten 2 better questions than that.
Great question.
Kathy, MPP, I would have prepared much more thoroughly.
Okay, all right, we'll go back to the delegation and we'll open it up to 5 individuals, up to 5 and 2 minutes per individual. So please take the podium, state your name and ask your question or you've got 2 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Tamara Leger, representing Lions Bay House Concerts, a community social enterprise serving Lions Bay since 2015. Over the past decade, Lions Bay House Concerts has presented 130 concerts featuring 335 national and international touring musicians to over 5,641 attendees, including 23 concerts held at Lions Bay Village Hall. Since COVID-19, our series evolved from private homes to public space activations, increasing accessibility and artist support while maintaining our welcoming atmosphere. We've also expanded into multidisciplinary music and art experiences. I request your support for our 2026 programming through an in-kind and financial contribution. In-kind support, I am requesting Lions Bay Village Hall and Green Room rental as outlined in here. It's a budget. It's 10.12. 10.12. The $5,400 in cash funding is requested to directly offset artist performance fees for 3 concerts. The first is $1,200 for a duo. The second would be $1,800 for a trio, and the third would be $2,400 for a quartet. Our financial model is lean. Artists are paid $600 per musician, which is below fair market value, and all production is 100% volunteer based. The cash grant will directly pay the performers. In fact, it won't completely pay the performers. We will need to seek additional grants and sponsorship or pull out of my own pocket myself to top up. But it's a great start. Our first concert is confirmed. Sunshine in My Bones, an intimate evening with Elizabeth Shepherd and Michael Acapinti on Saturday, June 20th, 2026. They're performing as ESMO. This is an acclaimed jazz duo, has 17 Juno nominations, 2 wins, and 2 Polaris Prize nominations between them. This will be their 3rd performance together here in Lions Bay and their 7th collective appearance in our community. 2 additional concerts are also being curated, but I'm not ready to announce them. I'm waiting to see if you pass my cash grant funding request, 10.1.2. This concert series is vital for our rural community, prioritizing accessibility, equity, and opportunity by offering international caliber acclaimed art and culture locally, eliminating the need for residents to travel. These events build community, foster connection, provide accessible, award-winning live music, support cultural equity by offering low barrier ticket costs, hopefully no barrier if I get this funding request, and generate positive visibility, both inside the village as well as externally, because a lot of these artists bring with them a lot of news media stories as part of their cross-country tour. We will also collectively pursue additional grants, as I mentioned, and sponsorships. Every dollar of support reduces production and ticket costs, ensuring that events remain accessible. This established series is a meaningful investment in arts, culture, accessibility, and community connection for Lions Bay. I respectfully ask for your support for 10.1.2. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else in the gallery wish to speak? Please take voting. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dawn Morton, for those of you who don't know me. Thank you for providing an opportunity to speak about a concern I have about the state of the property at 115 Mountain Drive. I previously sent an email to council about the condition of the property, but did not receive a response. And there was no noticeable change in the condition of the property. For years, the property has been in a derelict state, with building materials scattered around and garbage lying all over the ground, including food containers that might attract wildlife. For a long time, there was a mattress lying on the ground. I'm not sure if it's been moved, but it doesn't seem so visible now. And there is a huge disposal bin that has been there for a year or more. In addition, there are miscellaneous bits of plastic flapping off the house. I reached out to immediate neighbors to see if they also had concerns, and I got a number of responses. For example, Hugo Van Hoopstraten told me he had written an extensive letter about a year ago and also got no response. Paula Cayley and Greg Fitch across the street from the property had gone to the office a number of times with no significant effect. To delve further into the issue, Judith Jordan had a long discussion with one of the bylaw officers, and she discovered that any such complaints are passed along to bylaw/public works, and they do follow up. She was told that, unfortunately, as long as there is a current building permit in place, there was nothing that they could do to force the owner to clean up the garbage. There was apparently no relevant bylaw that could apply to the appearance of a property under construction. There also does not seem to be a limit to the number of building permit extensions that are issued. Any fines that might be applied are largely ineffective and do not seem to affect the appearance of the property. My question is, would it be possible to have a bylaw that would be enforceable and would address the issue of derelict building construction sites in the village? I understand from speaking to others that this is not an isolated situation, and I would very much like to see a solution. I do realize that any construction site will be somewhat unsightly, and I'm not asking for a perfect appearance. I'm only asking for a reduction in the garbage and loose plastic on site, a limit to the length of time a site can be under construction, and a limit to the length of time that a disposal bin can sit on a property. Gail and Doug, who live 2 doors down from this site and have similar concerns about it, also mentioned to me that the property across the street from them has had an architect sign up for years now, even though the construction was concluded more than a year ago. They would like to see some sort of bylaw that would encompass this type of situation, as well as the issue of overt derelict construction sites. Attached is a list of the neighbors that got back to me, indicating that they also feel strongly about this matter. Thank you very much for your attention. I've got a list of neighbors there, but I'll just forward this letter on to you so you can see it. I've also got a whole bunch of photos that show you what the site looks like.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Okay, anyone else in the gallery wish to speak? Please take the podium.
Those that don't know you, I'm Tony Strong, and I've been here for 52 years in Lion Bay. I am impacted because I'm next door to that building, and I think you've got a serious problem in here in resolving that problem, and I don't know how you're going to solve it. I believe they're financially into that house for more than they can possibly get for it in present day market. So I don't know how you're going to solve this problem. In their defense, they're decent neighbors. They've had workers there, they saw me working, struggling. I'm 86 years old. I'm struggling with something, and they immediately come over. They didn't even ask anything, they just come over and help me without the workers there. I would like to see it finished. I don't know how how you can enforce it if the owners don't have enough money to do it. And you certainly can't ask them to take the house down. It's a serious problem. Val's right. There's garbage there. A lot of the time they have done some recently, Val, in cleaning up a bit. And the thing that container had been there for a long time. Right now, there's the last maybe a week or so, I think they're laying tiles inside, because I'm hearing cutting and laying tiles. So there's work going on to finish it. I suspect though, that it's gonna take a long time to finish. And I don't know how you can resolve that problem with the amount of money that's involved. That's my opinion on it. Just how you handle it, I don't know.
All right, thank you, and I think, that's something staff can discuss. Come back to council. Okay, I'll leave it with you. We're not gonna put anyone on the spot right now. Okay, anyone else in the gallery wish to speak before we go online? Okay, please take the podium. Thank you.
I'm not really prepared, but something has come to me that I think that this is even a bigger issue. I think the issue is bylaws. You know, times have changed, and some of bylaws, I'd like to know if they're being reviewed on a constant basis to make sure they're relevant to the times and the situations and concerns that we have. I mean, think about it, even 5 years ago, we didn't have all these people coming and visiting Lions Bay, and we don't probably have the bylaws now that support the issues we have because of the numbers of people. So I want to know, first of all, how do you initiate bylaws? And obviously, I'm just not aware of how it happens. How do we review them to make sure they're relevant? How do we make sure that we have enforcement? Because we all know there's no point in having a bylaw if it's not going to be enforced. And what is the fight or the consequence of not following the bylaw? Is it so trivial that it doesn't make any difference? Because I think that, you know, we all talk about we don't want all these rules, but by the same token, we have to have some semblance of order, and that's what should come through with bylaws. I would like the answers to those questions, and I know that it's difficult, but I think that when we not keeping up to date on the needs of the community with the bylaws we have, we're not enforcing them properly, and we're not making them strong enough. And I will say one thing about these properties. It's very unfortunate when people run out of money. I mean, obviously, and they can't complete. I think I said to my friend, we could go over and clean it up. When you're talking about cups and garbage and everything, that's attracting animals, and the fence isn't properly secured so that kids could get in there and fool around and get into trouble. There are basic things that one can do to keep one's house clean that doesn't cost a lot of money. And this property has been like this for 5 years or more, and it's never been what I would call cleaned up. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to come in with the bulldozers, but that darn bin has been sitting there for 5 years. You know, it's crazy, and there's junk everywhere. So we can't go in and clean it up. We can't go on private property, but there's that tendency to want to do so. That's the kind of cleaning we need in these properties. And the wood could be piled instead of.
Thank you very much for that. Just to remind everyone, we have 2 minutes, I think. In regards to this question, I think it would be appropriate if we went to Mr. Blackwell and he gave a little bit of background on bylaws and the need to upgrade our bylaws, because this is something that the provincial advisor who came on as an advisor to the village in the first 5 months recommended that our bylaws were sorely out of date, and that they all, if not all of them, needed to be updated, and it should be done at the earliest possible moment. Now, I know that Mr. Blackwell, our CAO, has been constantly coming to council and presenting new bylaws and working with council, legal counsel, to rewrite these and bring them up to speed. So with that, I'll just pass it over, and I think it would be helpful for the community, especially these questions that were brought up, for you to give 3 minute overview, and we'll cut you off at that, okay?
3 minutes.
And we can bring this to the next council meeting and have a little more lengthy discussion, but please give us 3 minutes. And then we'll move on here, and we've got at least another couple hours of council meeting, so with that, Mr. Blackwell.
Thanks. Yeah, to your point about antiquated bylaws, I think you're entirely right. This is something that council's identified and council has included in their strategic plan. That council's approved a couple of brand new bylaws rewrites. One was subdivision servicing bylaw, another one was the building bylaw. But there's additional bylaw work that needs to be done. So it's noted by council, and it's certainly something that staff is working on to bring forward updates. Sometimes it's tweaks, sometimes it's a full rewrite.
Okay, Councilor Broughton, then we're gonna go to one further question online, and then we'll cut it off at that and move on with the council meeting.
Can I just interject on that one point? Is there an opportunity for citizens to give input to those bylaws?
Mr. Blackwell.
The answer is depends on which bylaw. So some, like zoning bylaw provides for public hearing. And those that are more technical, typically not, but those that are less technical and more sort of like park maintenance, let's say. I don't know that we have one for that, but let's just say, what are the standards? Well, I think that's a community conversation. Community needs to weigh in.
Okay, just one little question.
Okay, one, and then we'll go online, and then we've got to move on.
Lions Bay carry insurance for inadequate inspections?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell.
Yes.
I just put out
Yes.
$36,000 to put my foundations right.
Okay,
Just asking a question.
the answer is yes.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll get back to you later.
online,
It's Dorothy.
okay,
Mayor's briefly, but
oh,
if I,
sorry, Mr. Recke, go ahead,
okay, just,
Councilor Brown.
earlier on.
After you, Mr. Recke.
Earlier on,
One
I
final
was mentioning about the fact that there's multiple ministries and trying to coordinate multiple ministries and so on. But, and I'm just thinking, as we're looking at this, we have a bylaw on unsightly premises, but it doesn't apply because it's not a completed premise. We have a building bylaw, but we also have a situation where Tony's talking about where it's really, you know, he's got a very cooperative neighbor, but what we're also hearing is that it's simple stuff. And after a number of residents spoke to me about that premise, I went and had a good look at it, and the fence had fallen down. There was a mattress leaning against the dumpster, and there was just the way that the wood was strewn around. There was not a cost impact to that. It was just a matter of cooperation. So I think if there's some way that we can, make sure that there's a discussion going on with people. Clearly the workers.
Try calling in the workers' compensation board.
All right, we'll go online for one final question. Mr. Recke, you've got 2 minutes.
Yeah, thanks. Good evening, everyone. I have some concerns regarding what looks like an unauthorized secondary driveway access on the cul-de-sac on Upper Calvin Grove Way. So A, I would like to know, is the secondary access allowed? Who gets to approve these secondary accesses, and what is it for? I've noticed a big truck recently, as of yesterday, hauling large boulders up Calvin Grove Way, and I assume it can only be going up to this construction site.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, did you want to answer that, or do you want to defer that and request a resident come to the office?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, and I would encourage any residents that have questions such as that to reach out to staff. In this case, the Director of Operations would be more than happy to advise as to exactly what this is. It's not a construction site, but and it's only a temporary access, but the Director of Operations would be happy to sort of fill in those blanks.
Okay, Mr. Recke, if you can.
Could you touch on what that temporary access is for, please?
Okay, Mr. Recke, Mr. Blackwell has asked you to come to his office and you can get further information on that, okay? Thank you.
I'd like to draft an email which I can send to Mr. Blackwell, please.
Okay, good enough. Councillor Abbott?
Could council get a report back on that as well, please? I was asked this question, I don't know.
Maybe that can be a resolution, council.
Okay, all right. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, 7.1. Do we have a motion to approve March 3rd, 2026 minutes?
So
Okay, moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Proughton. Any questions, amendments? No, all in favor?
Please.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, motion to approve March 17th, 2026 minutes. Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, seconded by Councillor Cunliffe. Any amendments, changes? No, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried.
Thanks.
Okay, business arising from minutes, any business?
I've got a memory that's going on. Thank you, Gerald.
thanks, Tony.
No, sorry, I was just waiting for the.
Okay.
On page 9, item 10.2.4, the Cooley Stewart Memorial Trust Fund. We passed a resolution to reappoint the committee members. We should have included and the chair. That's what the terms of condition, in terms of reference asked for. So I would like to add to that resolution, or put another resolution forward, I guess, to include and appoint Councillor Abbott as chair.
Okay, you putting that resolution forward?
I am.
Okay, second by Councillor McLaughlin, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, any other business?
Not for me.
No, okay, we'll move to unfinished business and the 9.1 proposed zoning bylaw amendments. The motion is that staff be directed to schedule and facilitate a public hearing in accordance with the Local Government Act. Do you have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Cunliffe, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, 9.3, we have a motion that the third reading of the bylaw enforcement notice.
9.2, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, moving a little faster. It's
10.1.
been a slow pace until now, and we're just getting moving.
Deep breath.
Okay, 9.2, the motion is the alternative means of publications bylaw number 648, 2026 be granted third reading. Do we have a mover? Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Abbott, all in favor?
Sorry,
Opposed,
can we
motion
speak to
carried.
that? Sorry, can we speak to that?
Okay, Councillor Abbott.
And you've got the staff that wanted to present something, I think, as well, so maybe that should go first.
Man,
Mhm.
so the last conversation we had was at the poll, where some new options were presented. Council is not on using a local online publication, so we revisited the suggestion to use social media, specifically the village Facebook page, which we as staff had previously been hesitant about because we don't really use Facebook to communicate other than posting the village update. But after consideration, we decided this was the simplest and most cost-effective, aka free option to include in the bylaw. Now, the last time council had a look at this, it was suggested that we use several of the options. I don't know if you recall, but it was Facebook and this and that and this and that. The legislation actually mandates that for any alternative means that you list in your bylaw, you must use all of those. So if you list 5, you have to use all 5 in order for it to be considered, the notice to be considered published. So we want to just go back to just the village update, which was agreed upon, and I'm now proposing the Facebook page to keep it nice and simple.
Okay, Councillor Abbott.
So I wasn't expecting to hear that. It's news, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not here. Okay. All right, let me just wing it based on what we just heard. I think certainly I thought, and I thought I got consensus with many, that the direct mail in mailboxes is by far the most effective way of contacting all residents. So I was very pleased to see that as number one. And this is not direct mail, by the way, this is mailbox inserts. We're not putting stamps on pieces of paper, just so anyone's confused, stamps on envelopes. I was going to add that as direct says Edward by corporate office, I was going to say or by council, because I think there's some instance where council would like to see that mailbox insert used because it is proven to be the most effective. So now that we've been told, and I did actually go look at the act myself, and I didn't spot that, to be honest. But now that we've been told that, I would then like to make the direct mail insert as the second option, not the Facebook page.
Okay, we have a motion on the table, so if you want to amend that, fine, otherwise I'm gonna call a question for the motion on the table. Councillor Conlon?
Can I ask a question? Did we not discuss that, and was there a reason why we couldn't use direct mail? Or like
Mail drop.
If I may through the chair, it was left that I would circle back, like look into it. It's referred to as a mail drop. And it is less expensive than fully posting individual letters, but obviously it still has a cost.
Okay, Councillor Broughton?
So, and, oh, sorry, if I may, also the staff component. So obviously we would have to prepare all those letters, and then we would have to, I think we would have to go to Bell, well, I actually don't.
Am I allowed to speak to this?
No.
or
Not right now, please, sorry.
But with the post office confusion, I'm not totally like up to date on.
Okay, Councillor Broughton?
Yeah, what I heard said is that we must, if we, that which we list, we must use. And I don't believe that there's a requirement every notification we want to make to do a direct mail. I don't think, that we're precluding using direct mail, and council could suggest direct mail be used for specific items. But I would support the current motion, which is to have the village update and the village Facebook page as our number 1 and number 2. We cover off the requirements. We have the flexibility to do what we believe is best for the village otherwise, but we don't require staff time, cost, and everything else for simple notifications to meet legal
Okay,
requirements.
Councillor
So I support the
McLaughlin?
motion.
Through the mayor, that is a recommendation, isn't it, Deputy Corporate Officer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call a question, all in favor?
Before,
Okay, second time, and then final time.
so you said yes to the question, is that the recommendation? That's not what's written.
If I may, we don't specifically outline all the other litany of options that we could use. We just need to pick 2 for this bylaw. So if I'm correct, if I'm understanding what Councillor Bowden is suggesting, I suppose if something was to come to council that required notification, council could resolve to.
In addition to the first
Yes,
2,
exactly.
that we could add
Use a
additional.
mail drop
Yeah.
if they felt it was, of utmost importance, and
Yeah.
if they wanted to use that method. But this way, we are not bound to using those, essentially ones that incur.
Okay, so just,
I'll call the question, all in favor?
Of which, Mr. Mayor?
Of the motion that's on the table, and that is that the alternative means of publication 649 or 648, 2026 be granted 3rd reading. All in favor?
Could you clarify?
Opposed?
I'm sorry. Could you
Okay,
clarify what that means?
As written,
Okay.
it
That
says,
involves the-
The updated bylaw, the red line bylaw that is included in this agenda package
Right.
lists village update and Facebook page.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Did not mean to be so rude.
No problem.
We have to
We
have
need
some
to move.
reform on the meeting, and so we can't have speaking from all angles. Okay, so just to clarify that,
Yeah,
as a matter of practice, we go through the mayor, and that way, or through the chair, and that way, it's not talking over each other, and the meeting runs a little smoother.
thank you.
Okay? Yeah, Councillor
a
Abbott.
request to the chair. If we could just slow down a little bit before we call the question, gives time people to gather what they just heard, because sometimes we seem like we're not all on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, Mr. Blackwell,
No, question.
we already called it.
Did we already vote on it?
Yeah, you put your hand up, but but everyone else voted
I
for it.
thought I was clarifying, I'm sorry. Thank you.
9.3, okay.
now you're getting gun shy.
Okay, the motion is that a 3rd reading of the bylaw enforcement notice bylaw number 385 and 2006 amendment bylaw 640 2025 on January 21st, 2025 be rescinded. The recommendation is that the bylaw enforcement notice number 385 2026 or 2006 amendment bylaw 640 be granted a third reading. Do we have a motion for that? Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Cunliffe. Discussion. Councillor Abbott.
I was gonna ask if we could get some background explanation of why this has been,
Okay.
what's going on.
I recently conducted a bylaw audit, not in the way that was just previously discussed, not that in depth. More procedural, what's been signed off on, if everything was recorded properly. And I identified that this bylaw had come to council last year, and did receive third reading in January of 2025. Since then, it fell off. I can't speak to as why. However, since then we have adopted a new building bylaw. So I've updated it with the proper indexing referring to our new building bylaw. So my recommendation is that that third reading be rescinded so that council has the opportunity to review those changes and then move forward.
Question.
Okay, question on rescinding, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And the motion for the third reading, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to staff reports, parking demand management. The motion is that staff be directed regarding the parking demand management options should be advanced for further detailed analysis.
Action log.
Yeah, apologies, I missed the action log at 9.3. Any items on the action log which could be discussed?
Sorry, I just give me 1 second.
Yes, we're going back to the action.
Going back to the action log.
Back to the action log briefly.
Sorry, it's going back.
112.
112, thank you. Well, we moved on.
9.4.
112, right? And there we go, got 113. There's a few items here, so on the last meeting, we asked to get some updates on items 368, it's in the agenda 368 to 372, 371. And I see they listed here as in progress, and now we've got Director of Operations in the room. Maybe he could give us an update on items 370 and 371, as well as 373.
Okay.
They're both listed as in progress.
Ms. Blackwell or Eric, would you like to address that?
Might have to tell you what they are. I can read them for you if you're not following along. Okay, 370 and 371 was municipal fund for fleet electrification study. Staff to prepare RFP for a consultant to deliver the municipal fleet electrification study.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Through the chair, item 371, that's referring to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund, basically the fleet electrification study. I've engaged with a grant writing consultant and who I'll meet with later this week to discuss the first phase of the 2 phases grant application. So we've signed an agreement with her, and I'll be working on providing her details required to complete that.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Okay,
Good news.
next item.
373, that's the noise sensor hardware.
Noise sensors, through the chair, those 2 sensors have been ordered. They have approximately 8 to 10 week lead time. And I've engaged with our streetlight contractor. They're ready and primed to have a truck arrive when we have the sensors in hand, and we will select 2 appropriate locations to install those at that time.
Fabulous, Councillor.
Follow-up question, 8 to 10 weeks? I thought it was much shorter than that. That's almost before.
Through the chair, that's the information that I was given when I ordered them.
Okay,
Okay, any other items?
not from me.
No,
I'll
okay,
speak to 375 and maybe I'll wait for the CEO to return here quickly? Just in regards to setting up a meeting with the mayors, CAOs of the Sea to Sky, spoke with MLA Valerian this evening about that, and the Whistlers to attend the LMLGA, and we can speak directly with the mayors that are in attendance and move this along a bit quicker. If the mayor's keen on doing so.
Well, it's all up to our CAO, set up the appointments, how. any
Well,
program-
we can just kind of drop it in their ear what it's about, as opposed to just blindly hearing from our CAO and, you know, demanding their time, but
Yeah,
give them
by all
a little
means.
background.
Good. Okay, anything else? No, okay, with that, we'll move to the parking demand management. And the motion is a staff be directed regarding which parking demand management options should be advanced for further detail analysis. Do we have a motion for that? Moved by Councilor McLaughlin, second. By Councilor Cunliffe, and we'll pass it over to Eric to give a little bit of background on that, and then we can move forward.
Hey, thank you, Mayor Barry. So at the March 17th, 2026, in the whole meeting, council discussed having staff investigate options for parking demand management throughout the village. And the report I prepared in front of you today presents various options, 7 options for demand management, for council discussion. I can briefly summarize, the seven options identified. They're not, the only option, but I believe there are 7 options. Well, some are feasible, some will be more in-depth, long-term options. But also, you know, staff's open to other ideas, of course, at this table. So first option would be enhanced enforcement. I've included options, like more towing, or having tow trucks on standby within the village. It would give, not only the option to tow, but more of a, perception that if people aren't parking properly, then they will be there, and more of that. Kind of a strong arm approach to it. Option 2 is to increase the number of parking spots. There may be opportunities to color ditches and add parking, gravel parking over top. The option of converting some permit-only parking to paid parking is available in various locations. Third option is exploring the parking lot of the school and formalizing that as paid parking, possibly expanding it slightly if there's not a whole lot of opportunity to increase that. But we could formalize that with discussions to the school. That is a private property or owned by a school property, it's not village. So that would require a discussion with the school district before. Pursuing that. Option 4 was increase in transit or incentives to for visitors to take transit. Option 5 was a reservation system. This is probably more of a long-term solution, identifying every parking location in the village as a street location to park and having a reservation style system that people can use. 6th option was the notice boards on the highway or at key village entrance locations, identifying the amount of parking available remaining in the village. Again, probably more of a long-term solution, be quite difficult to implement and we don't do that in a cost-effective way. And item 7, which this council briefly spoke to with our MLA this evening, would be using the gravel parking pit that's on NOTT land to use that as a formal parking lot and direct visitors there. So happy to discuss any of these options further in more detail and answer any questions you may have.
Okay, before we go around the table, go to Mr. Blackwell and then we'll go to the councilors.
Yeah,
Blackwell.
thank you, just to council, that the resolution that you've read is actually not gonna help. What your staff is looking for as a resolution is, from this sort of smorgasbord of this buffet of options, is there one you want staff to go away and develop and bring back? And if there is, then, you know, that could be a resolution, council to define one or more of these, and by way of resolution be helpful.
Okay, so why don't we start by going around the table, go to the councilor with their hands up, Councilor McLaughlin, we'll go to you first.
Thank you very much, Mayor Barry. Be brief and not to go over the items that the DO has done, I think council should make a decision on a couple of items that then can go back to staff. And the purpose is to focus on a few, make the decision now and allow staff to put it in action. So the first one is that we talk about, but it hasn't been done before, is booting cars. There's a car in front of a fire hydrant. There's a car in front of my driveway. If the car is in front of a fire hydrant, cul-de-sac, are they worthy not only being ticketed, but also towed? In the interim between a towing period and not, there's two opportunities here. One, boot the cars. I forwarded an email on a very simple method of doing it. Not only do you boot the car, that is holding the car, put the biggest frickin' sign you can that says car's been booted because X, Y, Z, make it orange, everybody can see it. And then the tow truck can be called. So there's no tow trucks in hover mode. And these are for selected kind of things. And again, these are for safety issues. So I think the first thing is council should make the decision on booting. And then the second piece is on towing. And they don't necessarily go arm in arm, but I don't believe that having, and I think we've seen this in different communities where we happen to be visiting, where there's the tow trucks are like vultures looking for carrion. Or if you're going into Vancouver earlier, those unsuspecting folks who got up a few minutes late and left a car on the no parking sign of the road going in. So that's not what I propose. It's not an image we want. But if you're going to go afoul of the system, there's a price for that. So I would put forward through the mayor that council, I've got four more if you let me to lead or however you want to do it, Mayor Barry. But I want to be to the point. So council's feedback on booted cars, number one, towing cars, number two.
Why don't we go point by point and we can, if you can put forward a motion, we'll have a second and have that discussion.
Could I, sorry, there was one thing, did you want to also raise the discussion point we had this afternoon about seasonal increases?
Yeah, this is to the chair, an idea we had, discussing prior to this meeting. Like a real demand management system is, like when airports raise their fees during, spring break and other, seasonal highs. So that could be an option is, adjusting our, parking fee system to increase during seasonal highs and then reduce down to normal rates during seasonal lows.
Okay,
It's interesting information, but if you don't mind, through the chair, it focus us on core questions here, where council stands on a couple of issues, because that drives a lot of the stuff.
just in regards to that, and what was the intention there? Would that bring in much more revenue, or was that the idea there? Or was it just to keep people away during that high season?
It's both. It is more revenue. It could also incentivize people to visit if the costs are too high for them to go on a hike. But the risk is that we swing the pendulum too far. The cost becomes so high that people decide not to pay for parking and take a risk with a ticket, and then take a risk with a dispute, and then it becomes increasingly difficult for staff and staff time to deal with all these disputes instead of just having a reasonable parking costs that people are willing to pay.
Okay, Councilor McLaughlin?
Thank you. Let's make it easy, because if council agrees on towing, then it's towing is yes, or towing is not.
Okay, put a motion forward if that's what you want. and
The
then-
motion would be that, in response to the DOO's, request for guidance, that towing is considered, an option to be pursued.
Okay, second.
You don't get to vote.
Seconded, or you want to say something?
No,
Just to let you know, we already do tow.
Yeah,
right, okay.
Okay, so that's already there.
Okay, just to clarify, towing would happen in the event of safety related items. Cars parked in front of a driveway, in front of a fire
Hydrant,
hydrant,
cul-de-sac.
or whatever, yeah. That we're already doing that. I think
So to clarify, we're already doing that, so the motion would be redundant. Eric,
I, for the life of me, can't remember a car ever being towed from one event.
we'll go to Eric and then we'll go to
Okay.
Councilor
If
Abbott.
I may, through the chair, the strategy in the report is increase enforcement. So there is already enforcement. We have one full-time bylaw officer, 2 additional bylaw officers during peak season. This would be increased enforcement, increased towing with the increased perception that if there's improper parking, then there will be higher consequences to try and dissuade people from parking improperly.
All right, so we got Mr. Blackwell saying that we already have the towing. You're saying that what we have, we're talking about upping that.
Correct.
So Councilor McLaughlin's motion would be in support of increasing that.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second for that? Second by Councilor Conlon. Discussion, Councilor Abbott.
well, I'll put my hand up because I was going to point out that we do already tow. I've seen it happen, it does happen. We did used to have boots. I've seen boots on cars mounted in Sunset. Haven't seen one for a while. I think the boots were used for, and this is going back a few years when I'm trying to think the last I saw it, was when this really started being a problem around COVID. This were egregious offenders. Some people found it cheaper to pay. I think the term was frequent flyers was the term bylaw used to use. So we have done that in the past. I don't know that we need to. I don't know that we need to put forward a resolution to increase the amount of enforcement in towing and boots. If it's something we've already done before, I think there needs to be some sort of discretionary latitude given to the bylaw enforcement officer to decide it's appropriate. My other concern about booting someone in front of a fire hydrant. What happens if the guy with the boots gone, you can't even tow the car out the way? What if you needed the fire hydrant? So that's problematic, but.
Well, I can speak to that. Then they just throw the fire hose to the car and you learn that you never park in front of a fire hydrant ever again.
Or do you use those clever cutting
Okay,
devices?
please put your hand up.
Or do I use those clever cutting devices that you have?
Any other comments, questions before we call the question?
Are we gonna go through these one by
Oh,
one?
we're going one by one.
Okay.
Okay, Councilor Broughton.
Perfect, we're suggesting that we more aggressively tow. If it's unsafe circumstance, it should be towed. Period.
Yes.
So I'm not sure why we would suggest that we increase that. Because the clarification was that we want to increase that. I'm just concerned that we need to look at the whole package here, but anyway, I don't support getting more aggressive. If it's unsafe, it should be towed. If it's not unsafe, then we use our usual systems.
Eric.
Through the chair, the request in the report is identify options that this council would like staff to further investigate
Pursue.
and pursue, yes, correct. So if increased enforcement is an option that this council wants to have staff pursue, then that could be a motion that's on the floor.
Okay. Councilor Abbott, then we'll call the question.
Okay, I'm going to friendly amend it to the question. Can we change the question to review the current towing practices for effectiveness? If we're not towing someone in front of a driveway, for example, they should be towed. So can we make it maybe slightly differently the way Councilman McLaughlin worded it, which is increase, we don't know from what scale to what, because everyone's speculating. Can we make the staff go review the current towing practices? And if we can see an improvement, we do so. And I think understanding that if you're stopping someone from getting into their house, you get towed. In front of a fire hydrant, you get towed. If we're not doing that, then that's what we're asking to do.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
I'd second that.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Okay, next item.
Goodbye, Mayor Barry.
Yeah. That's what I like.
Thank you, TOO, for the situation on notice boards. I did do some costing on some of these events.
Thanks to the chair. I think we said we were going to go option 1, 2, 3, 4, and everyone is going to talk. Is that what we were going to do?
We're gonna go one by one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about number 4 already, I think. So number 2 was additional parking.
Okay, motion to increase the additional parking. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll put it forward just to talk about it.
Okay, I'll second it. And comments, or some, description, Eric? and then we'll-
Yeah, through the chair, so the direction that staff is looking for is, if council wants to look at increasing parking, staff could look at and identify areas where, that could happen. So that could be either new culverts and creating parking over current ditches, or changing, the current parking restrictions. So if council would like to do either one of those or both, that would be the direction that staff's looking
Okay,
forward to.
Councilor Conlon?
I would not be in favor of either one of those. I do not think that we need to increase the parking in the village. We need to control the amount of people that are coming out here to the best of our abilities, so everyone can enjoy their time safely and have less people driving around the village looking for parking that isn't there. You make the spots and then as more people come, we couldn't even get them to come and pump the porta potties out more than once a week at one point. And it's one long weekend and they're destroyed for the next 4 days. So again, I'm not in favor of that.
Okay, Councilor Broughton, you had your hand up?
No.
Okay, Councilor Abbott?
And you did mention this in your report. I'll just speak to it from an infrastructure point of view. 2 things. It is going to be very costly, as you pointed out. It's one of your cons. I would say cost prohibitive. Secondly, infrastructure meeting for years, or infrastructure committee for years have been talking about daylighting as much as possible all our water management, which is the practice that's happening all over the world. And particularly, there are already people that have infilled the ditches illegally, of actually going back and digging them back out. So for me, for those reasons, this is a mixed message, and I say it's a bit of a non-starter. And I do agree, we're not trying to encourage more people from coming here. We're trying to manage the situation for the residents as well as the hikers that are coming.
Okay, I'll speak in favor of a portion of that, and I'll use Lions Bay as an example. The road has had a lot of construction on it for the last couple of years. And I think some of the boulevard parking areas need to definitely be shored up. They're not draining, they're just tracking dirt onto the road. I think whether it's a minimal, and I'm not talking about major work, but some gravel compounds would improve the parking for residents and any other guests that are visiting the village. So I think it's going to vary throughout the village, and that's going to be up to staff to figure out, you know, how you deal with that, whether you fill a ditch in or you don't, or whether you, I know in front of Councillor Cunliffe's place, there was some tremendous work done there, which really improved that. And I think that was done prior to any of the resolutions and such. But I looked at that, I thought it was fabulous. I think more of that, and it's almost just a light maintenance and sort of upkeep of the village, if you will, such as trimming trees on the roadways and so on. It just improves the look of our village. So I'm in favor of that. Any other comments?
Yeah, I would be in favor of sort of the light work, the trimming back, and there are the number of areas where things are overgrown. And so you could create more parking that way, but I would not be in favor of infill of, doing major work to create parking, but to optimize parking, I think would be a good way to go.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Berry. In spirit, I'd be with this in practicality, I'm opposed. I just don't think for the dollar spent, we're gonna get meaningfully more people and have significant more cost.
Okay,
Needs to be cost effective.
all right, all in favor?
What
Got
are
the
we,
resolution on the floor on covering up culverts, or did we?
no,
No one put forward a resolution that I heard. Is there?
If I may, to share, yes, there is a resolution. It was not as specific as what you would do, but it was just that staff review the options for increased parking.
so.
That was.
Okay, so it's more based on increasing parking rather than filling in culverts or somewhere.
Just identifying most cost effective parking.
Okay,
perhaps.
I would be in favor of identifying other parking that could add to the revenue. So I would be in favor, and again, you'd just be reviewing it, you'd come back or you'd put a proposal forward. So I'd be in favor of you looking at that.
If this helps, this is just, the only questions that staff are seeking direction on are to do with water development. It would be a waste of time for us to chase down all these items if some of them had no interest in council. So we're just trying to narrow which ones you want us to do a deep dive in. We will do that deep dive and bring them back for council discussion.
Okay. So this is to review increased parking.
Good.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. 3-2, motion carried, and again, this is just looking at the options coming back to council. Okay. Next item, parking at school.
That was permit parking was removing permit, converting more
Parking.
permit.
Are we on, sorry,
Item 3.
item 3 is parking at school. Okay, 1/16. Okay, Eric, just to clarify again, this is just to review and look into it. You might speak with the West Van School Board. Is that the intention?
Yeah, through the chair, correct. This is utilizing this gravel area. It is used already as like a free parking overflow, from what I understand. This would be formalizing it into I would suggest its own paid parking area that we can monitor the fees or the revenue collected specifically for this own lot, apart from the village elsewhere. That's just what this is formalizing it. Do we want to pursue, does council want to pursue discussions with the school district? Because it is their land.
Okay, Councilor Broughton and Councilor Cunliffe.
I'd not support pursuing that. It's a free parking area. It's not that many parking spots. Somebody's early enough and is prepared to walk up from there. Have at it. I don't think we need to get involved with the school board and have that kind of time involved. So I just leave it as it is.
Councilor Cunliffe and Councilor McLaughlin, Councilor Abbott.
Who's paying for the porta potties in the parking lot? Do we know?
We are.
So I am of the mind that if we're paying for the porta potties to be there, then we should be recovering some of that cost. Or if the school district is willing to pay for the porta potties, that would be even better. But so I would be interested in having a discussion with them to see if we can get some costs back, because porta potties are not free.
Okay, Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much. Although on that line of thinking, Councillor Cunliffe, I came on the bus and I had to use a porta potty. I had no revenue to give you to use that porta potty.
If you came on the bus, you probably aren't going to the school field.
No.
You're going to the woods.
No,
Not Councillor Abbott's
okay,
here.
you don't want to go in there, right? So I am opposed on this one. I think that the school is a gift. It's a positive image thing. I think over the 6 years I've looked at this, on a good day, we could put 22 cars there, on a bad day, 21 cars, on a great day, 24 cars. And if you follow where the C cans are, don't park there, or bye-bye. That should be included in the tow too. Bye-bye, but I think we've got a sweet deal there. I wouldn't have staff put their time on this one.
Okay, Councilor Abbott.
Yeah, Councillor McLaughlin's right, it is about 20 odd cars, and yes, it's not just overflow, there's those that know the street, so they go there first. I don't know that that's an issue, I'm not sure what we're trying to address here. I think we're trying to address too many people coming, and we're trying to address the impact on residents of people chasing around and trying to find that last parking spot. We have approached the school before, from a call that I said no, I'm not sure how hard we pushed, but the first answer was no, we don't do that. It's one of their policies, and I'm sure everything's flexible if you push hard enough. So I don't know that this addresses an issue, so I'm also happy to just leave that on where it is.
Okay, it seems like the temperature of the room is not to enforce parking costs for that parking lot. Do we need a motion on that, or is that?
No.
No, okay. Next item is reservation system and,
Increased transit service.
oh, sorry, increased transit service. Eric, you wanna give us some background on that, thoughts?
Yeah, through the chair, some options identified could be talking to Blue Bus about increasing frequency of the bus. A park and ride could be an option just to keep visitors' cars out of the village and put them somewhere else. Or, you know, a private shuttle or a village shuttle from a park and ride area with more frequent service, or specifically to trailheads. The idea is to incentivize transit somehow, instead of incentivizing trip by car.
Okay, Councilor Conlon.
I like the idea of incentivizing transit, and maybe on our Facebook page or that could be put out there to people or on our website with a link to the bus schedule. I wouldn't want to see staff spending much time lobbying TransLink, because we have done that in the past and it is onerous and fairly unsuccessful. I think our best bet is to rely on our MLA to get some provincial funding to get transit moving through the corridor. So I just wouldn't, and I to provide a shuttle to an independent park and ride, I'm not sure where that is, what that looks like, who's paying for that, and who's paying for the shuttle to come here. So I think if we put out an ad campaign showing that transit is an option, then that would be great, but I don't think we should spend that much time on this one.
Okay, Councilor McLaughlin.
I concur, I would spend any time on this.
Okay, Councilor Bowden.
I agree.
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay, next item.
This point of
Is reservation
information that
system.
residents have complained they haven't been able to get on the bus because of people riding to go hiking.
Okay, reservation system.
So sorry, no, if I may, on item 4, is this an item we council wants staff to look at, but with low level, no, okay, thank you.
Okay, reservation system, Eric, give us some background on that.
Yeah, the idea with this, I think it was brought up in the council of the whole, something similar to Joffrey Lakes, where, the only option to enter the village to go on a hike is if a visitor has a pre-purchase reservation. The idea with limiting the number of reservations to the number of available parking would kind of match what's the parking that's available in the village.
Okay,
I'll
Councilor
comment
Conlon.
on this because this is one that I think this is like a short to medium or medium to long term kind of investigation. And I see your cons here, and yes, every parking stall in the village would be an onerous task. But if we did look at the key areas at the trailheads up on Sunset, the CN lot, the Kelvin Grove lot, and then maybe within close proximity, a couple of the streets and whatever amount of cars could feasibly park there, you could have a guaranteed, then people who want to plan in advance know that they have that. And however it would be managed on a website would tell you that this amount of these spaces have been reserved for this day and we have this percentage of spaces available at first come, first serve. It would just get messaging out as there is an actual limitation of how many people could possibly drive here and park here. I don't see this happening for this summer, possibly not even next, but I would like to see some kind of investigation going into it.
Okay, any other comments, Councillor McLaughlin?
Thank you. I would not pursue this at this time.
Okay, my feeling is, if we had the pit parking, then it might be worth pursuing. Otherwise, I think we're a little early, but just my feeling. Any other comments?
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar. I think that's tied to the pit parking. I think you need a controlled area. I just don't see it's manageable. I think it's the ideal solution. I don't think it's manageable if it's all over the village. You then push people to, if you're only doing it, say, on busy areas like Lions Bay Avenue and Mountain Drive, then people are just gonna end up going to Bayview, and you're gonna move the problem around, I think, unless you can control the whole village, and that's just impractical.
Okay, Councillor Broughton, any feeling?
Yeah, no, I don't. I think once the pit's in place, that's a great idea.
Okay, so I think we won't pursue that for now. Okay, next item is the gravel pit.
Parking notice, boards. Number 6.
Parking notice boards.
Yeah, through the chair, there's a couple options here that could be pursued. The simple option is like a, parking full notice, which may be difficult to determine when that goes in. Bylaw officer could look around and decide it's, parking is now full in the village and puts a sign out. A little bit more complex idea would be, like rent or purchase of the, changeable notice boards. Those are the, highway boards that have like digital light up signage. Basically the same thing, it's just a bit more sophisticated than the sandwich board. But would have essentially the same messaging on it that we're now full, no parking available. Up to the complex version of this would be actually tracking cars in, cars out, and number of spots available within the village, which is
Park Royal.
yeah, that kind of more of a parking garage style, Metro Town Park Royal system.
Yeah.
So kind of 3 levels of effort.
Okay, let's go around the table. Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Barry. I think that in the height of the season, the frustration level is very high. Sympathetic and empathetic with the folks that are driving around in a circle, not finding a spot. I think I've gone away from thinking of doing the digital readout stuff or changing messages. It's too expensive, and I think a sandwich board or several of them through key parts of the village tell the story that we want. Full, no parking, can't turn around, don't idle, don't stop, and that kind of stuff. And with, I believe, at least one bylaw officer around all the time, sometimes 2. Those can be moved around, they get collected in the evening. I think that we're just trying to help our visitors a little bit, but at the end of the day, we can't provide them a parking spot, so the best we're giving them is information.
Okay, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I support the simple provision of information. One of the concerns I'm hearing from people, some of the people on Mountain Drive, is that once it's full up there, people are driving up and they're, looking for a spot, they don't find the spot. And then they come, basically, they when they're going up, they're going very slowly. Once they know there's no spots, they come back much more quickly. So it's a real lot of traffic that's coming up and down and it doesn't, and they're not gonna find a spot. So it just creates a problem. So the more information you can give them lower down, typically at the school site, then that's the way to go. But it doesn't have to be high tech. It's gotta be the sandwich board, the, what are they called? The 2x4s on a.
Councillor McLaughlin. And then Councillor Abbott.
Actually, back to Councillor Burton's idea. I think using that, that's a common complaint I hear too, is that Our little happy face, sad face could perhaps be moved for the accelerated speed going downhill or mountain and Sunset area. And plunk one there before they hit the chicane.
Because at the same time as they're racing back down, the hikers are walking up
Yeah.
5 abreast across the roadway.
Good.
So
Councillor Abbott?
it's problematic.
Yeah, so I love what you guys are talking about, because I do live up there. The problem is not so much the speed they're going at, it's the congestion. You've got hikers and see what they do is they see a parking on their way up and they think, I don't want to walk that far. They get to the goal, they're top, oops, no parking here. Then they're chasing back down to catch that one that they'd seen down at the school. That's what they're doing, right? And it's just too many people around. It's not so much a speed issue, but I think some of the guys were using those boards. I think they were having an effect. And they were kind of pretty informal. And, I'm sure they were exactly up to date. There was 2 parkings freed up, didn't take the sign down and stand by till they got used. So but it did leave a message. The problem is when the boards when they try them up at mountain, with the mountain into tiers, then there's a bit of a difficult turnaround, but there is a turnaround, but they're probably really the problem. When it's full and they put them down at the school, where people can actually turn around down there, then they are effective, I think. It's just anecdotal of what I've seen. So I think I'm with the low-tech idea, keep trying it if we can. Someone make it electronic, if we can use our signage speed monitor thing to deliver the message somehow. I don't know what technology it has other than the smiley face. But if we can program it to do it, would be great.
I know this is a challenging one because there's lots to discuss. We'll try to keep it a little bit briefer, just especially this yes or no. I'm into low tech, but that's enough for me. Councillor Cunliffe?
Yeah, I like the low tech idea, and my only comment would be that give the bylaw guys to make the call. It's 95% full, say it's full. You're gonna have the road person that's gonna soldier through the Park Road parking lot at Christmas time, looking for the one guy that's leaving and wait for them. That's fine, but if the clear messages were full, give the people the option to move on without frustration.
All in favor of low tech?
Yeah.
Okay, opposed, motion carried. Okay, the last item, gravel pit parking. Eric, want to give us some detail on that?
Yeah, I think this has been discussed. It's talking to Modi, trying to get access to the gravel pit, formalizing that into parking.
Excuse me, we'll go back to the low tech option. Mover and a seconder for that move. Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Abbott. Okay, sorry, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, this has been discussed a bit this evening already. It's conversion of the MOTT gravel pit to formalized parking for visitors to the village. So engaging with Modi, trying to get sort of a long-term plan for that.
Really interesting conversation with the West End Mayor. They got temporary parking permit for a gravel pit. So it would be worth reaching out to their staff, figure out how they got that, when they got it. I think it's that area that's underneath the viaduct. Across from the plenty.
We don't need to solve the questions right now, it's just, is it? Let staff
Okay,
report.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Go for it.
Thank you very much. Just to be brief on this one, I like winning the lottery. And that's what West Van's situation is, but I also don't think you spend a lot of time on this.
Okay. All right, any other comments?
So when you look into this, there was talk of an alternative trail as well. So that people then didn't go walking up through the watershed. And they would then go from the gravel pit, cross the creek, lower down. Exactly where that is and how it works, I'm not sure, but that might be in people's minds at the same time. But if you do go that way, we need to talk to the Linesway Search and Rescue because they had concerns about that, about making rescues more difficult. So make sure you factor them in.
Okay,
If we go down
further
that path.
review, motion for further review.
And report.
Okay,
Yes.
move second by,
I'm sorry, your question was, are there any other motions for this review?
no, just a motion to do additional.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Look at
This
this.
one.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Thanks, by Councillor Allen, second.
If I may, Mayor Barry?
Yeah.
To add on two pieces, which I didn't actually see specific, was bylaw officer coverage on the weekends and holidays from October to April, using sunny weekends such as this last one as an example. It's a budget item, which I think once the new bylaw officers in place could make a recommendation, what that might look like. We're a long way from October to April, but I think it's something that should be on staff's radar.
Good.
Yeah, Mr. Black.
So we do that currently, done that, since there has been full-time.
Thank you very much. I have one more item,
Just
if I
a
may.
finer point, sometimes it doesn't work out because we can't necessarily always predict a sunny weekend. But
That's fine, as long as we cover it. If I may, Barry,
Yeah.
one other outstanding housekeeping item. And that's something that council's asked for on January the 14th on my parking plan, study group thoughts for staff. It was agreed on 100% by staff. It was also that staff would provide 2020 to 2025 inclusive financial figures. I can resend the approved resolution back to staff, but if we could see the financials. Okay, let's say the next meeting.
yeah, it's on our agenda. It's just workload. As soon as we can get to that, we certainly will.
If we could put that on the action log, that'd be fine with me.
Okay. All right, Councilor Broden.
Yeah, I would support that, and part of that discussion was the cost of tickets. And I think there has been discussion over time as the effectiveness of how much our tickets are, whether they in fact create, whether we're getting the effect that we want. We may be better to be more in line with other jurisdictions. We may have fewer defaults on payment and also have a lot more positive press.
Okay.
Right now, oftentimes we're getting negative press for no benefit. And we're catching a lot of
All right.
people who aren't prepared to pay.
Eric, anything further before we move on?
No, thank
No,
you.
thank you very much for all your input. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to grant in aid applications, and that is 10.1.2. And Karen, if you'd like to give us some background on that.
Thank you, through the chair. As you probably have seen in your package, I gave a report on the grant and aid. I presented as the groups have applied, the various groups that are asking for money in cash as well as in kind. I know there were some questions around the in kind, and happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding what is presented. I've presented as is. I'm making a recommendation for you guys to discuss, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We'll go around the table. Please raise your hand. Any questions for Karen?
I'm ready to go to the motion when you are, Barry.
Okay, Councilor Abbott, you had a question, or you ready for the motion?
There was I had a question. There was a few attachments that actually didn't come through. And I asked the CAO, but he hadn't managed to get to it. And I think the attachments, there was a link to one from the events committee, and then there was a few others that were mentioned, where we didn't have any PDFs.
I certainly can forward those to you. So they were options to submit this year. They weren't requirements. So if you would like to see them, I have them on file that I can send. But because some of this information is going to be public, I did not make it. I didn't make it a public. I'd have to redact every single line item. So,
Okay.
but happy to send that to you.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the application as
Okay.
presented. Yeah. Councilor Abbott.
Before we do that, and I think other councillors might be different, but I would like to see in future if we have $19,000 of cash. It's a budget item that we should have some background information on. And I think the background information should specifically for me be how the previous year's money was spent. So the events committee have gone from 5,000 to 8,000. I'd like to understand how the 5,000 spent, and I think they did provide it in that link, but when I used the link, it was dead.
So I can speak to that if I may through the chair. This process has been lumpy, I will say, for many years, because the requirement of what has been spent in previous years has not, there's been a lot of pushback on when that has been asked for. Groups don't supply it. So this year, we changed it so that I'd like to move in that direction, that there's a final report that has to be done, there's final receipts that need to be, so it's a in progress kind of application, so that everybody has to jump through the same hoops. And certainly we have that information for the events committee specifically. And the information that they're asking for, so what you're approving is not the previous application, it's the application that's in front of you, that they are asking the money for. So you're looking at that application cold, you know, that it goes on its own merits on that, so.
Okay, any other comments, Councilor Broughton?
In previous years, we've discussed these specific items and closed, and I'm just not, so.
Some of us are saying yes, some of us are saying no, I don't recall that.
So it's quite common that,
Last year, I'm not sure that we did, I think previous 2 years we did.
it's quite common for local governments to conduct some of the discussions in closed because of the inherent sensitivities around financial implications, so it's not off the table, and if that's council's desire, you can certainly move into closed on anything and come back into open.
Okay, this is done at many council meetings, Metro included. If the council has a wish to move into closed, we can move into closed. It could be brief, it can run for 10-15 minutes. Thereabouts. Do we have a motion to move into closed, or is council happy?
I'm happy and ready to go to the resolution.
Okay, any other? No.
There's nothing to review and close at the moment because we don't have the information, so.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
May I respond to that through the chair? The information that is in front of you in the package is actually what they're asking for. So, this is more comprehensive than any other application process that has happened previously. The questions were quite specific. So the money that they are requesting beside each one of those is accurate in what they're asking for. Just if that helps at all.
And I understand that. I'm just saying the only reason to go into close was to ask something about this previous spend that we hadn't seen. So there's nothing.
Okay, motion is to approve the applications as presented. Total value of support requested, financial and in-kind 23,900. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Sorry.
Moved by Councillor Abbott, second by Councillor Pelley.
Thank you.
Through the mayor, the staff asked that this be split down between the two. I'm not sure whether that's relevant anymore.
Say again?
At the bottom, which is staff's recommendation.
Oh,
Is
two different motions, one for in-kind.
one for in-kind and one for CAP.
Through the chair, those are just suggestions on how you want to deal with it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, fine, dear, together.
All right, next item is satisfaction survey. Mr. Blackwell, you want to walk us through that? That's 10.1.3. Thank you.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the arts and culture and trails and volunteers, thank you all
Thank you.
so much.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
So, this is put on the agenda just as an information item. Council is aware, staff undertook the satisfaction survey just to get a read on where the community sits around various issues. Some are operational, some are a little bit more aspirational, so is to sort of help guide where we go with various thoughts and ideas and planning and so forth. As I have already mentioned, we had a fabulous response rate for the first satisfaction survey. There's some great information in there. I haven't had the opportunity to unpack it all yet. Hope to do so, but it's there simply for your information.
Okay, any comments, Councillor Abbott?
Yeah, I've spent some time looking at it, unfortunately, it's a rabbit hole that I tried to resist, but I couldn't. I think there's some very valuable information in there, some odd anomalies that I didn't expect. I think we should sit down in a committee of the whole and dedicate, I would think it would take, I don't know, a meeting, an hour and a half or whatever, just to go through some of these and what we believe, what we interpret from it. There's a lot of information there, so that's what I think we should do.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Broughton?
I think there was quite a bit of concern from the community in terms of the physical survey itself and the the fact that there was not applicable option, that type of thing. So I think it did. I think that it was very interesting that the survey provider themselves, identified that it was atypical to get the kind of result that they had. We've not received comments like this in this survey that we've been involved with previously. That surprises me. But it basically is saying Discovery Research notes that the findings should be interpreted with appropriate caution in this context. I won't read the whole paragraph, but that's all because it's in the agenda. But I think it was problematic that the way the survey was rolled out, the fact that it was extended, people had some difficulty. If it froze, they had to go back and start again. And there's a number of quite a number of issues, and there's quite a number of people in the village who have been actively involved in fact professionally doing surveys and had some difficulties with the actual process. So my concern is that we have to ensure that we interpret the data that was received based on the entire context of how the survey was done, how it was reported, and so on. So I just I think it was useful. I think there was a lot of powerful information came out of it. But I think also it can be a learning experience for in the future when it's done again, that we should look very carefully at some of the bumps. So.
Okay, if Councillor Abbott wants to put a motion forward to move it to committee of the whole for further discussion, I'm fine with that. I would second that.
Okay.
Okay,
You have to put that forward. Can I just make one other comment before we do that? Based on what I said from Michael, the two phases became a little awkward when we changed how you could answer. Some people didn't get that. So having that neutral thing, I think we all agree that should have been in there all along. That makes it a little different to interpret sometimes. I'm not sure if it's based on what happened to the first bunch that did it or the second bunch. And then there was a lot more free form, and that was the question. A lot more free form questions were added second time around. I didn't do it, but I went and looked at it, and there's a lot of free form questions in the body of the actual the questions themselves, not at the end. The only responses we've got are the ones that happened at the end. That was the other part I was looking for. So there should have been a lot of information for anyone that did it after the second revision and had more chance to comment throughout the document, not just at the end. That's what I was looking for.
okay, Mr. Blackwell.
Yeah, that's the information in the main report that was on the agenda. Is a summary of all of that information, the other free form questions. I guess at the end were attached separately because they were not part of the main body. So just to sort of go back and sort of allay concerns, this company is the Lions Bay is the first client. They've had done a very considerable number municipal surveys, including Squamish. And so they explained a number of things. There's a lot of nuances to it. The reason why they didn't provide an NA option is because there was no way for them to understand why people were selecting not applicable. It could be for any reason, which was also problematic. So they defaulted to what they felt was the sort of the next best solution. And based on the feedback of what I received, only two concerns about it, they were responsive and included that, with the caveat that that's also problematic, as they say. They also, as set out in the report, they also commented on the fact that with regard to this style of survey, you were gonna have, and this is why they say proceed with caution with this, because those people, they say that this type of survey format attracts negative comments versus sort of random telephone interviews where people are caught, randomly. This attracts people that have something to say, so to speak. So that can be a double-edged sword, something to say positively, something to say negatively, etc. So that's why they say proceed with caution. So this content in here is not supposed to be, the gospel from down on high. It's just supposed to be sort of a weathercock. Where's the community roughly sitting?
Indicators.
Yeah, indicators.
All right, we'll call the question and move it to committee of the whole.
I'll keep it brief, okay?
Yeah.
Just to explain what I said earlier before. So there was, yes, it went out, the results we got came out with a whole bit of free form, then it got taken off the website, and then we subsequently got shown that again, you gave it to us confidentially. That, all of that free form, when you looked at it, all of that free form is only from the last question.
Understood.
Okay, it's the other stuff we've never seen, it's not part of either document.
Correct.
That's
All in favor of moving this to the committee of the whole? Opposed, motion carried.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, spirit of time, we'll continue moving on here. We have 10.3.1, fees bylaw investigation review. The motion on the table is the council move forward with a discussed review of the fees bylaw, specifically cost of facilities rentals in consultation with resident users. We have a motion moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Broughton. Discussion.
Okay, if I may.
Okay.
Thank you,
McLaughlin.
thank you very much. This is a friendly resolution. It's just 4 months has gone by since we spoke about this. And I think it's something that the community would like to engage in. And I think we should continue with it. I recognize where we last left us, that the group that would be solicited was going to be posted through the village update. So allowing for that period for applicants to come in, to be screened, to be considered, and then put the informal group together, that's another month. So really, we'd like to move on. And the key point being is that I know who I'd like to do this, that let individual accepts this and we get going.
Okay. All in favor?
Keep going.
Okay, opposed, motion carried. Okay, next item is the CAO review handoff. The motion is the Chief Administration Officer review be completed by council prior to the regular council meeting of the council on July 7th, 2026. And a review of the CAO be scheduled for the regular closed meeting of the council July 21st, 2026. We have a motion for that. Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second. We have a second. Councillor Cunliffe, discussion. Yeah, Councillor Broughton.
I would not be in favor of pursuing this. I'll just provide the timeline of our last evaluation. And this is just some of the evaluation work that we did between January 2024 and when ultimately the CAO evaluation was done in February of this year. This council has not demonstrated an ability to get information together and actively, create outcome on this evaluation. So I'm very concerned on April the 7th, talking about, May, June, July, having any kind of information brought forward that's useful. So I'm just not, I don't support us doing that. We've got a lot of other work to do.
Okay.
And we've just completed a CAO evaluation that we hired a consultant to undertake. And, I think it rests, it's active at this point.
Okay, can I just ask a question? Mr. Blackwell, what was the requirements for your CAO review? Was it one per year? What was the?
Yeah, if memory serves me correctly, it was 3 months, 5 months, 12 months, and then annually thereafter.
Okay, any other comments? Councilor Abbott?
Yeah, I would support, Councillor McLaughlin's resolution. I think we should do a wrap-up, review, at some point, before the end of this council term. And exactly how we go about it, I don't know. We had a lack of success our first go around, but I'm sure we can do better and come up with a way to at least perform the review. So I would be in favour of doing it.
Okay, Councilor Conlon?
I would say I have more faith in us this time, and we do have a bit of a framework that we can build on. So maybe not as thorough of a review as that we conducted recently, but something to be able to pass over to the next council.
Okay, so we had a professional do it in February. That cost us $4,000. Are we suggesting to use another professional, or are we doing this in-house?
Per the memo, I'll just go through it. Council should agree on and commit to the firm dates, which are above. To agree to not utilize the services of a consultant for this review. To agree that the period under review will be from the last review to July the 1st. Presuming concurrence to the points above, a review format should be decided on by the May 5th RCM. I think if I was to editorialize, it gives us a chance to decide on the format. It allows us an opportunity to do the review. If granted, it will be very small versus the years that the CAO has been here. But it does allow for the handoff for the next council.
Okay, how would that differ? And we had a full review of pretty much a recap of the CAO's first 2.5, 3 years of February. And what's going to change between now and July in that? And are we permitted, I guess, CAO, or you open to having a further review? If your contract says yearly, you open to having a review within a 6-month period?
Well, let me answer that by saying feedback is really important. I welcome feedback. My principles are to ensure that I'm delivering on council's expectations. But based on my experience, I would have very serious concerns about council's ability to do one that's fair, that's reasonable, that's timely. Based on experience to date, I mean, if one was done objectively, somehow that might be different, but it's council's prerogative, I suppose. It's not consistent with the contract, but I mean, it can be a formal review, it could be an informal review. And that sort of takes me to the question, what is the purpose of the review? Is the purpose of the review to assess the degree to which the CAO and council is working successfully and where there's a need to pivot? Because the CAO review is often and typically a two-way review. CAO's review of council, how council is working to fulfill and move its mandate forward, and so forth. So there are a whole pile of question marks with regard to that question.
Okay, Councilor Bowden?
I was just be concerned, if we are going to undertake a review. And I would expect that that would probably require some special council meetings. Based on our experience, I would want to have a commitment by all council that they would attend those special council meetings. We had two special council meetings that were called that did not achieve quorum during the evaluation period. So certainly I would expect that that all council would attend.
All right, well, I wouldn't be opposed to this if, Councillor McLaughlin, if you want to lead the process and if we can get a commitment from all councillors at the table that you will attend special council meetings that are called and needed. I would certainly wouldn't oppose this.
I thank you very much, Mayor Barry, for your confidence. I think on that, we certainly won't be using SCM. I think we can do this in-house on time, and give the CAO some feedback, and he can give us some back too. I think, for the dates I've mentioned, if council has faith in me, I'll proceed as a lead on this, and things change, then we'll go elsewhere.
Okay, before I call the question on that, can we get a commitment, even hands in the air, that all the councillors will make themselves available for the special meetings? We know that's, as Councillor Broughton mentioned, that's been a challenge.
These are RCM dates here.
Through the chair, can I speak to that?
Yes,
Okay,
Councillor Allen.
well, first of all, I think you guys should keep on topic because this is not on topic. Secondly, stated before that we will come to council meetings, special meetings called with due notice given, an opportunity given that everyone can attend. And as long as those conditions are met, we know what we're meeting for, we're giving them enough time, we have always attended. So I'm not going to go with a blanket statement that you just made and say I'll come to any meeting. Every council's given a chance to attend.
You've asked to stay on topic. We all know that
Just responding to the off-topic remarks you asking for.
But we all know that we responded by those special meetings with 291 pages of emails requesting attendance. And again, those are all available. So, Councillor Broughton, you had your hand up.
Well, I don't want to get into a debate on this, but there have been multiple meetings that Councillor Abbott has refused to attend, and through
the chair, if this is going to be allowed, I'm going to be allowed to respond.
Excuse me, please don't interrupt. You can call a point of order, but
I'm calling a point of order.
Okay.
If this is going to be permitted, I'm going to have to respond. This is completely off topic.
Okay, respond. You called a point of order. Respond. Okay, back to Councillor Broughton.
Okay, the facts just speak for themselves. That's fine.
Okay, well,
I'll leave it.
put a motion forward.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Barry. So before us is the stuff that we could have our own view on it, but to get to the point, the motion before us is that the chief administrator's review be completed by council prior to the regular closed meeting of council on July the 7th, 2026, and a review with the CAO to be scheduled for the regular closed meeting of council July 21st. So that's the first piece. Indirectly, the mayor has asked me to chair us through this to get through the data piece, and let's just go from there.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, next item is the noise relaxation request. The motion is that an exemption for noise bylaw.
Sorry, but 10.2.3.
That's Barrett's Farm, 10.3.3.
Yeah, no, I just need to speak to it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, you had something there?
Yeah, so the reason why it's here is, because we have received direction, with respect to reasons of transparency, governance, that, in the case of the Bear Smart, designation, there is a member of council that's been appointed to a community representing the interests of council to convey information back and forth. So, because an elected member is facilitating that, which is totally appropriate. They need to have a formal reporting back system. Now, we can't put it under council or under the committee section. It's not our committee, so it has to be someplace. So this is the best place for it. The only time that there will be a report will be if the appointed councillor has something to report, but it has to be a standing item. And if the point, if the issue is nothing report for this meeting, that's all it is.
Okay, who would that be? Is that Councillor Abbott?
Yeah. At
Okay.
this point, council. Council.
Okay. Councillor Abbott, do you want to give us any background on, I know there was a trap put in the village and give us an update on that?
As I pointed out, I wasn't aware I was expected to give an update. I was given no chance to prepare a report. I will absolutely prepare a report. I would first need to speak to the members of the Basement Group, including the chair. I haven't spoken to her. All I know is that she did speak to the conservation officer, and our words were a very good meeting, or discussion. It wasn't a meeting. They met in the street. If I find some more, I'll definitely report back. I think everyone knows as much as I know from Facebook, and the conservation officer did not approach Basement initially. He came to the office. That's all I know. But I can give a more fulsome report after I've got back to.
Okay, there was some email sent around that there was gonna be a meeting set up, and conservation officer was either gonna come to council meeting to speak or meet with council. Any progress on that?
Yeah, if I could, there's two pieces. So just to clarify the reporting on here, this is only for those meetings, those formal meetings that are set up by the Fair Smart Group, which is a community group that in this case council rather sits on. Since it's not, the intent of this is only to report back on those meetings, not as a representative of Bear Smart or talk about bear issues or any other thing. This is only to convey anything that of material interest to the rest of council associated with the formal meetings. That's it. And there's only, a couple of times a year that happens. And then if it's very little, it can be a verbal report. If it's more complex, then Councilor Abbott's entitled to pull together a report.
If I prepare a report, it will be written. That's a given.
Yeah. So with regard to the CO coming to council, that was the initial discussion. We were not able to confirm it at the 11th hour. So the hope is that will, as soon as we have a date, we'll coordinate that.
Okay. All right, any other comments? No? Okay, with that, we move forward. Noise relaxation request, the recommendation or the motion is that an exemption to noise bylaw number 283, 1998 be granted to Lions Bay House concerts to permit events with amplified sound between the hours of 8 AM and 11 PM at Broughton Hall for the remainder of 2026. Do we have a motion for that? Okay, second. Councilor Cunliffe, second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, and we'll move to correspondence. Page 289. Councilor Broughton.
Okay, I just would move receipt of the, well, it's included in the package, so. Unless there's motions that council would like to put forward regarding some of the recommendations for UBCM. But I think most of the items apply are quite specific to larger communities and so on. I'm not sure that Lions Bay would want to take a position on public safety in Prince George, but.
Okay, any items councilors would like to pull out of the correspondence? Councilor McLaughlin?
None for me, Mayor. Very be happy if we went through this and call it done.
Okay, no further questions. We'll move on. And new business, none.
Sorry, I got new business.
Okay.
Earlier in the meeting, the CEO suggested that I need to put forward a motion if I wanted to receive a staff report. So I would like to put forward the motion that council direct staff to provide a report back to council to explain the second access in Kelvin Grove Way cul-de-sac after they've addressed the residents' concern. Can I get a second?
Okay, moved by Councillor Abbott, second by Councillor Cunliffe. Any questions, comments? Councillor Broughton?
The CEO mentioned that the director of operations would provide that information. I thought, was that going to happen here, or was that?
Mr. Blackwell?
Was that to the resident?
So my recommend, so this is a lot, I will be honest with you, because it's 9:35 at night and I'm tired now, so I can be more direct. We have a lot to do, and fooling around with all these sort of busy work items means that our attention is drawn away from the stuff we really need to get done. So my recommendation with issues like this is it doesn't involve council. It should not involve council. If council is questioned about this stuff, the correct process to follow is to refer them to the correct staff. So if it's Public Works that's issued a temporary access, and the response from council is refer to the director of operations. They have all of the technical information. You know, and so forth. Do they, if it's fire?
So the temporary access was provided to allow work to be done
On a private property,
private property.
beginning and end, yeah.
I'm happy with that.
This is a property that is got a development application. Are we allowed to talk in general terms on that, or?
Oh, and again, this, you know, there's a, how deep do you wanna go with it? Yes, there's a subdivision application, but it's not a development.
Okay, subdivision. And there's also, this application envisions a pathway that might connect two parts of the village. Is that correct?
Not exactly, no. One of the conditions for in the preliminary layout review letter is that there be a road dedication to connect both sides of the community, south and north, south to the north. That's a condition of subdivision. There are many conditions of subdivision, that's one.
So this particular pathway is something that has been sought after for more than 40 years by the village to connect Kelvin Grove and the main village. Is that accurate?
If you say so. I wasn't here then, so I can't confirm or deny that.
Okay, no, I
would
wasn't
say
here 40 years ago, but I know I've heard Councillor Broughton and others, Councillor McLaughlin, others talk about how important connecting the village is.
It is
And that there's
Road.
an opportunity to perhaps have a pathway between the two parts of the village. But yeah, Councillor Collins.
Could we just get some rudimentary speaking points? So if somebody in my neighborhood asks me what's going on, I can say it's temporary use being granted for this period of time. I don't know what is going on, but at least I can give you this.
Councillor Abbott, you had your hand up?
Can I respond?
Yeah, sorry. We'll come back, Councillor Abbott. Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
So, yes.
Please.
But here's the thing, what happens if you have 40 different requests for 40 different items? So that's gonna take a lot of time.
Oh, no, I like just the basics.
Well, I know, but so we have one for this, we have one for something going on down Lions Bay Avenue, we have one for something going up here. So we, you know, you could have an omnibus version of speaking notes.
I'm saying on this particular question. And specifically because it's right in my neighborhood and people they have a daily little ritual to walk up there and they're gonna ask me when I'm out on the street. So it looks like I have no idea what's going on, even though I can say, well, that's a staff decision, they're gonna wonder, like, you don't know what's going on.
So this is where I'm going, so to stop the stuff being ad hoc all over the map and inconsistent, some people get more information, some people get less. Some councilors may have more information, some have less, some have a piece of the puzzle and don't accurately convey the rest. It sets up lots of problems. So what would be better is for council to establish a protocol around this. What is the standard that council wants that we can apply across the board? The only thing that you need to factor in is the time it takes to be consistent. If you say yes to one, how do you say no to others? Those are my thoughts to share with you on this.
Okay, Councillor Abbott.
Okay, so I even more firmly believe I need a report. We now know that at least one, it sounds like two councillors are aware of a subdivision, first time I've heard about it. So, and I know you're gonna tell me subdivisions in your authority, you've said that before. I don't know how you provide a second driveway access without a subdivision, same as a car in front of a horse. I'm gonna remind everyone that this is in the largest and only significant unengineered creek in the village, goes through the middle of this property. I am changing my resolution slightly, and I would like it to include a full report on the planned subdivision that's been described tonight.
Mr. Blackwell?
I won't do that. Subdivision has got nothing to do with council. It cannot be politicized, and by law, council is not permitted legally. This is not Ross saying. This is that if I'm to follow the law, I have to keep you back from this process. The subdivision process, like the building permit issuance process, cannot involve council. It explicitly states that. And it is illegal for council members to put any influence on the subdivision approving officer. So to protect council, you need to stay away from the subdivision process.
Sorry, Councillor Abbott, is this the same area that you went down and visited? Is that what I heard?
I did.
You're down, and what did you find out? Maybe you can report to the council.
I should report to the council.
I just, I'd like to know.
I'm not gonna report to the council what I found out by visiting the area. No, I'm not. It's completely inappropriate.
That's odd.
Well, I think what we're hearing from our CAO is it's completely inappropriate for a councillor
It's
to
completely inappropriate
put their
for
nose
me.
into operations. And it
I
might be illegal.
Well,
Hey, Mr. Blackwell,
well then,
tell us where this could be legally fraught, with councillors interfering with the staff's, applications they've been received from residents.
So as council knows, most applications, council get to weigh in on and make decisions on. There are two rounds that they don't. One is building permit issuance. The other, which is different than building permit issuance, is subdivision application process, which is solely administered by the subdivision approving officer for a municipality. In that case, this case of Lions Bay, that's me. What the legislation requires is complete separation, and the reason is based on the history of the legislation, the subdivision approving officer is effectively working on behalf of the province. So they effectively step out of the role of a municipal employee effectively and do that work autonomously. And the statutory obligations of the council expressly, they're not permitted to in any way, shape or form try to influence the decision of the subdivision approving officer. It's deemed illegal. So I mean, it's the first time I've ever known in 30 years that, this sort of crossing into this dangerous territory. So why I'm pushing back so hard is, it's one thing to have a sort of a general conversation about these sorts of things. But it's another thing to start requiring reports and immersing yourself in the process. The reason is, as I've said, it sets up questions of liability. I mean, do I need to point out how much money's been spent on legal fees? And this is another bear trap that council's moving in, directly forward. So that's why I'm saying, no, I won't do that. Because I would hate to see litigation and having to defend something that's totally unnecessary.
Okay, Councillor Abbott, would you like to rescind your, motion?
no, I would not like to rescind my motion. I might like to revise my motion. I would still think it's appropriate for council to understand if we are forming subdivisions, we're redrafting our zoning bylaw at the moment to allow for this. And I would like to understand it if there's been agreements already to approve some subdivisions according to that. It could be in a closed meeting, it can be more general, and it doesn't have to be whatever prohibits the law. My first response to when I saw this was, it was an encroachment. I assumed it was an encroachment. Council approves encroachments. I'm now told it's not an encroachment, it's a driveway. Our bylaw prohibits a driveway, two driveways to one property explicitly. So
Mr.
these are all
Blackwell,
questions I would like to ask, and it's not acceptable just to say, no. I'm
Okay,
not
point of
concerned.
order, point of order. You're calling it a driveway. Mr. Blackwell earlier gave us the explanation. It's not a driveway, so please don't repeat it's a driveway. People will misinterpret that. Mr. Blackwell, what is it?
It's a temporary access so that the applicant can access the property on the south side of the creek to undertake some landscaping works, tree removal and vegetation management and so forth. Once that's complete, all of the aggregate material that's been placed down to be able to access that has to be removed and restored to the original condition.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Barry. On this matter, I think we need a little time for cooler heads and reflection. I would suggest that we table this matter and let it sit for till the next meeting.
Okay, motion table us. We have a second.
Sure.
Okay, moved by, seconded by Councillor Broughton. All in favor?
Sure.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, we'll move to public questions. Anyone in the gallery? Please take the podium.
Raise your head on as best you can. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm Deidre Bain, and I was just wondering when the utility bills are coming out for water, garbage. Does anybody know?
Mr. Blackwell, would you like
Usually
to
it-
answer that?
A lot earlier than that.
Soon.
I would love to answer that. Unfortunately, I'm not sure. Have you heard?
If I may, through the chair, it's typically, like, end of April, May-ish, that's typical.
Soon.
I've only been here for a couple of years, and that's
Okay, I
my
thought they
experience.
were a lot earlier, but.
No,
We
and,
were late a
and
couple of years
just
ago.
as a reminder for all residents, utilities are not actually due until the end of December. There's just a small discount
Right,
paid,
right.
before, so.
Well, I usually take advantage of the discount, so I just thought it was a lot. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone online?
Nope.
No, okay, a motion to adjourn the meeting. Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Abbott, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you.